Hello everyone, welcome back to TFD. There's a lot happening right now, and honestly, it feels like everything is colliding at the same time. The WNBA-CBA situation is still hanging in the air, free agency is essentially frozen, and the league is stuck in this awkward holding pattern where nothing can really move forward. On top of that, we've got Unrivaled running at the same time, and I have to be honest with you, it feels like nobody is watching it and nobody is talking about it. What makes this even more confusing is that more and more questions are popping up about potential conflicts of interest. You've got co-founders of Unrivaled who also sit on the WNBPA board, and at the same time, there's no CBA deal getting done. To a lot of fans, it looks messy. Whether that's fair or not, that's the perception. And when perception turns negative, it affects everything, including viewership. Now, Breanna Stewart recently addressed the opening week ratings for Unrivaled, which were reportedly down more than 60%. 60%! That's not a small dip, that's a free fall. She spoke about it, and the comments were picked up by Sports Illustrated. So let's talk about this, because before we even get into what she said, I have a bigger question. How did anyone not see this coming? Seriously, how was this a surprise? Leading up to the season, nobody was talking about Unrivaled. The entire conversation in women's basketball was dominated by the WNBA-CBA, labor uncertainty, and what the future of the league is going to look like. That was the story. Unrivaled felt like an afterthought. The promotional push this year just did not feel the same as last year, and that matters more than people want to admit. Now, you look at the star power, or lack of it. Last year, Angel Reese was the biggest star in Unrivaled. Not the best player, but the biggest draw. She brought controversy, she stirred the pot, she had storylines following her everywhere. She was doing her podcast during Unrivaled, pulling people into the conversation, keeping attention on the league. Dejanay Carrington was part of that mix too. Love it or hate it, it created noise. This year, neither of them is there. Sabrina Ionescu isn't there either. Last year, she took $1 million and played part-time, and even that was a headline. This year, she's gone. And then there's the biggest absence of all, the biggest star in women's sports, period. Caitlin Clark. She is the engine right now. She drives attention, ratings, discussion, and casual interest. And unlike last year, there was no mystery, no maybe she'll join angle. Caitlin Clark made it clear from the jump that she was not doing Unrivaled. So you couldn't even tease it or use her name to build hype. No AJ Wilson, no Caitlin Clark, several recognizable faces missing. So I have to ask again, what exactly were you expecting? If nobody is talking about the league before opening night, if the marketing is quiet, and if the biggest stars aren't there, why would casual fans suddenly tune in? That's why the disappointment feels misplaced. The ratings didn't tank out of nowhere. This was predictable. When attention, momentum, and star power are missing, viewership follows. That's not hate, that's reality. Let's get into the article. New York Liberty star and Unrivaled co-founder Breanna Stewart sent a strong message regarding the league's disappointing ratings, and honestly, disappointing might be an understatement. According to the article, expectations were high for the Unrivaled 3-on-3 Women's Basketball League heading into its 2026 season. And that optimism was largely driven by the success of its inaugural 2025 campaign, where the league managed to attract many of the world's top women's basketball players, generate significant interest, and deliver a strong on-court product. On top of that, Unrivaled offered extremely impressive salaries to every player who participated, which made the league feel like a massive win for everyone involved, players, organizers, and fans alike. However, the article points out that the stakes were much higher in 2026. For one, the WNBA's immediate future remains uncertain due to ongoing CDA negotiations, a situation that appeared to present a major opportunity for Unrivaled to capitalize on increased attention and instability within the league. What's more, the emergence of Project B, another professional basketball league operating during the WNBA offseason, has introduced real competition.
Project B is set to launch its first season later this year, meaning Unrivaled is no longer the only alternative option available to players and fans during the off-season. As a result, Unrivaled is now competing not just for viewership, but also for relevance, attention, and long-term viability in an increasingly crowded women's basketball landscape. And you've got to remember this part too. Unrivaled is running in the exact same window as Unrivaled. That matters. Alyssa Thomas is playing in Unrivaled this year, but is she going to be back next season? No, she's already lined up to leave for Project B. That tells you everything you need to know. Unrivaled is no longer the only off-season option, and now they're competing head-to-head for players, attention, and relevance at the same time of year. When your own talent is already planning an exit, and your schedule overlaps with a new league, that's not a small problem. That's real competition showing up fast. Here said, plus, the novelty factor for fans has now worn off. They know what to expect from Unrivaled, which would separate those tuning in because of mere curiosity from the true fans. And the result of this would presumably show up in Unrivaled's ratings. Here said, The Athletic's Ben Pickman revealed the viewership metrics for Unrivaled's opening day games on January 8th with an X post that read, Unrivaled opening day on Monday averaged 175K viewers during its primetime window of games. Afternoon window averaged 107K viewers. All that is down from 208K average viewership during regular season games in Unrivaled Year 1. This raised red flags, given that Unrivaled's opening weekend last year averaged over 300,000 viewers for the first two games. This shows a huge decrease in viewership that doesn't bode well for the league's continued growth. Now, is Breanna Stewart said, Breanna Stewart speaks out on Unrivaled viewership reveal. Nobody has been more attached to Unrivaled than New York Liberty star Breanna Stewart, who is a co-founder of the league. And she recently spoke about these ratings, which were conveyed in a January 11th article from Madeline Kenny of the New York Post. Here said, quote, Obviously, we want them to be consistently high no matter if we play on Friday or Saturday, Sunday or Monday, and know that we have a space of our own here and in the League of Sports. People aren't typically used to seeing women's professional basketball at this time unless you're watching EuroLeague or something like that, so ratings is a huge one. It sounds like Stewart isn't content with these ratings either, and will be keeping a close eye on where they go from here.
She really needs to keep a close eye on this, and I mean that seriously. I see a lot of people brushing this off and saying, oh, it's just an off-season league, it's just something for players to stay in shape. And sure, that sounds nice on the surface, but let's be real. This isn't a charity run or a donation drive. A lot of money has been invested into this league. We're not talking pocket change. We're talking millions upon millions of dollars, tens of millions. And investors don't put money into something just to feel good about it. They invest because they expect a return. That's how this works. If I put in $1,000, I expect to get my $1,000 back and then some. Otherwise, what's the point? Right now, it doesn't look like that's happening, and that's the issue. The money Unrivaled has brought in isn't coming from massive viewership or booming media deals. It's coming from investors writing checks. And eventually, those investors are going to start asking questions, real questions, like, why am I still putting money in and not seeing anything come back? Or why are players leaving for Project B? Or what exactly is going on here? At some point, someone is going to say, I'm done investing. And once that happens, it gets uncomfortable fast. Because then it turns into, open the books, where did my money go? What was it spent on? Let's not pretend that conversation won't happen. And no investor who put in $20 million wants to hear, relax, it's just an off-season thing. No, that's not acceptable. If it's just about staying in shape, go to the YMCA or a 24-hour fitness. When someone drops that kind of money, they want an exciting, marketable product that can actually generate revenue.
Breanna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, and the people running this league are in a very tough spot. And honestly, if the WNBA doesn't find a way to partner with Unrivaled, I don't know how long this league can survive. Not with this 3-on-3 format, not playing in a Florida bubble. That's just my honest take. But what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel.